What's up, everybody? We are the Ducross Brothers of Sports Wars. I'm Tristan Ducross. Along my side, as always, is my partner in crime, the one and only
Sean Ducross. Tristan, we've got a great show for the fans. It is going to hit on a different, wide range of topics going on today, with perhaps one of the biggest one this week.
Absolutely. And if you want to watch us live on YouTube.tv, this is your platform. If you want to hear us on Blog Talk Radio, by all means, go over to Blog Talk Radio / the Ducross Bros. We are on multiple platforms. Catch us on Facebook at Sean and Tristan Ducross or at our fan page, Ducross Brothers. In the meantime, Sean, MMA legalized right now in New York.
Absolutely.
What everybody's been waiting for has been waiting for this very moment in time. It's been going on for years about legalizing MMA in New York City. Now the time has come that the bill finally made it to the floor. And at this point, it looks like it will be passed 100% without a doubt.
It's not a matter
It still has to go through one more platform before it's officially 100% all said and done. It passed the floor. It's on to the next, which most likely will 100% be legalized. But in the meantime, you still have to be politically correct. You still have to say,
hey, it's been said that it's legalized in the city, in New York. It passed 113 to 25, I believe is what it was. It is classified as it is legalized in New York. That is the bottom line. Whether it has to pass another one or not, Tristan. Bottom line, it's legalized. You have UFC that has already fielded calls, have already placed calls out to Brooklyn, Syracuse, Rochester, everybody in that area. But notice how one thing that's missing. Madison Square Garden is not on that list yet. Because in order to get to Madison Square Garden, you got to be on a list of a year out. You just don't call up and say, hey, we're the UFC. Let's go ahead and make a fight in Madison Square Garden. That doesn't happen when you've got people that are in Madison Square Garden that have been doing it for years, that have contracts there for a year at a time. It's not something you come and go, hey guys, how you doing? We're the UFC.
But what's interesting is that for the last couple of years, this bill has been in motion. It has been, the only issue is that they couldn't get it to the floor.
Yeah.
The fact that it got to the floor, the fact that you had a huge array of support this time, the fact that you had a guy stand up at the podium, basically what ultimately shifted this whole entire people to voting yes, was by the sheer simple fact that they said at the end that the time's up. It's time to make it right, ultimately make it right, and make it now the time. Despite even a guy, a mayor, even saying that the equivalent of the UFC or MMA in general is like it is to gay porn. How do you even, as a person of power, even come to that distinction between the two?
And he doesn't just stop at gay porn. He says that it's just with a different ending. But how ironic is it that this gentleman that said it makes such a wide claim considering who his sister actually is?
Right, and a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that the guy that made the acquisition between the MMA and gay porn is actually the brother of Rosie O'Donnell.
And what is Rosie O'Donnell?
Right? So how does she feel about her brother making such a statement?
And that's my issue, is that you've got this guy who has a lesbian for a sister and makes these remarks. To me, that's insensitive to make such claims against a mixed martial art. You could go so many different ways. And to me, to make that claim is just as bad as saying that it was human cockfighting when George Pataki banned UFC or banned MMA in the city of New York 20 years ago. So you look back at it, and these claims of mixed martial arts, you're forgetting. Mixed martial arts have been around for decades in so many different wide cases. Karate, taekwondo, judo, everything is so based to the mixed martial arts. They developed mixed martial arts as a moniker because of the fact that it's a blending of styles. It's a unique style of athleticism.
But it's weird because like everybody seems to forget the one word in MMA is it as an art form. When you say that is mixed martial arts, last word of that is arts, okay? Google Ads even has started removing their Google Ads off of MMA sites due to the fact of the blood and violence of MMA. But yet, everybody seems to miss that key word in MMA. It's called mixed martial arts. It is an art form. Whether you approve of it or you don't, that's your own discretion. But to put a stamp on it for years and just continue to just bash the mixed martial arts, it's kind of a disgrace. So when you get to this, dude, I've seen the video of Matt Serra and Weidman in New York training, and Matt Serra getting a phone call about this moment, about it being legalized, and the sheer joy and the excitement from all the people that were in that gym said it all. You got guys dancing, dabbing, you had it all. And to me, that sends shockwaves through the whole entire mixed martial arts community because they have been trying to get this going for such a long time. And now here it is.
Now, mixed martial arts, MMA, can be seen on such a big platform and such a big scope all across the globe. You can now 100% say, without a shadow of a doubt, mixed martial arts, not UFC. It's like, to me, it's like saying, when people say, oh, I train UFC. Let's get this right.
You train MMA. You train mixed martial arts.
Exactly. Let's get this right. Mixed martial arts, MMA, is now globally renowned style of athleticism. It can be seen on a global platform now because you couldn't really say that because New York wasn't in the picture. But New York is now in the picture and it can be seen everywhere. Can't wait to see what type of events that are put on in New York, what the amateur rankings are going to look in New York, what type of events are going to be held in New York.
There you go. There's another thing, Sean. You just said it. Now that MMA is legalized in New York, what does that say now for the scope of the amateurs that are out there? You know, the guys that don't have the platform in Montreal to be able to fight amateur ranks without going onto an Indian reservation. Now they can cross the border and go into New York and get a fight.
Go to Buffalo. They can fight in Buffalo. The possibilities are now endless. The growth of MMA is now endless.
Because now nobody has to cross to the West Coast, go to Las Vegas to train, go to London to train. Everybody now has a home that they can train out of. Everybody. So to me, this is great and a great platform now for the mixed martial arts community to actually now showcase themselves a little bit more.
Absolutely.
And now my question is, with all of this, is that yes, UFC has opened up doors with Rochester, Buffalo, etc. But who in reality is going to be the first ones to put on their first MMA show in New York by a professional?
It seems like all signs are pointing to Ronda Rousey will headline the first New York pay-per-view, if you will, because it's not going to be a free TV event when they first show up in New York. Let's best believe that one. But it seems like the early signs point to Ronda Rousey will be the person for that fight. Because they already said that it'll be interesting to headline that. The other interesting thing is, okay, so we've talked about the good news of it being legalized in New York, what to expect from MMA in New York. But here's something interesting for all the fans. Everybody wants to know what took so long for this to happen in New York. And you dig a little deep and you figure out what happened in New York and why this happened and whatnot. Well, here's a little food for thought. Former Governor George Pataki went ahead, and I mentioned this a few minutes ago, went ahead and banned mixed martial arts in New York in 93, 4 years after UFC had put on their first event. Referred to it as human cockfighting. But yet, George Pataki at the time was an amateur boxer. So he was no pushover to the combat world. But yet, he banned MMA. 20 years later, we finally get that legalized. In the process, though, from when it was banned to now, what a lot of people don't know about why it kept getting banned or everything else, it was because of
the Fertitta brothers that were actually involved behind the scenes with casinos that prompted everybody to kind of not allow this to go through, right?
Absolutely. The Fertitta brothers, Lorenzo and Frank, were had casinos called the Station Casinos out in Las Vegas.
Dude, everybody knows the Station Casinos.
Now, what I found out was that the culinary people or the group, or the unions, whatever you want to say, the culinary side is very big in the city of New York. They control a lot of the political bases in New York. Interesting thing, because to me, immediately when I think about that, I think mob. Go figure, right? But they have...
New York, casinos, Las Vegas. It
correct.
Kind of all ties into each other.
So the culinary people were so outspoken against the Fertitta brothers because of the Station Casinos were not unionized. So the culinary people in Las Vegas or in Nevada went to the people in New York that were in the culinary area and said, whatever you do, bash the Fertitta brothers as much as you can to prevent them from ever doing business in New York. That's why it went so long before we ended up in this boat yesterday afternoon.
Because once again, politics plays a big factor. And the fact that when you have a union and a non-union, you're always going to get this friction between the two. Regardless if it's good, bad, or indifferent, or whatever it makes these two unions not work together, it causes a big, huge misunderstanding between the world, because a union's always going to side with a union. A non-faction will never side with a union. So that's where you had this whole entire butting of the heads for years. And nobody really understood or grasped that knowledge or that understanding of why, in fact, that this was so big for such a while, about why nothing could be done about legalizing MMA. It was the fact that you couldn't put the bias aside. You couldn't put your hatred aside. You couldn't put your business aside. But now, because of what mixed martial arts has become, you had so many more people that were in the council voting for this, is that you ultimately had no choice but to now listen to the voice.
And you had to listen to the fighters that wanted this to be changed. So you couldn't hide in the closet. You couldn't hide from everybody else. You had to simply man up and listen to everybody that had something to say about what was going down. And you know what? That's what they finally did. They finally had something to say. So bravo for New York finally legalizing MMA and standing up for the fighters, for the future of the fighters. Let's make this perfectly clear. One thing I want to hit on before we go into our first break is the thing that bothered me the most wasn't necessarily about the gay analogy. that was one touching thing. But to blame the mixed martial arts for the way that kids are going to be brought up is just ridiculous. To me, mixed martial arts is another way to escape reality and to escape being troubled. We saw that with our guys from 99 Jiu-Jitsu and Joe Moore. He said it's all about family. He loves to give back. He loves to make sure that the people are off the streets and getting better with themselves. Mixed martial arts is that type of avenue. So get this cynical notion that you have of how bad MMA is and realize what it exactly is. Mixed martial art has always been a centering type of sport, I guess you could say. Is that it's all about being centered in one way, shape, or form. So you've got to realize the good in mixed martial arts. Don't you want to keep kids off the streets? Don't you want to keep them from doing drugs? Then you should be standing behind MMA and not bashing them.
Right?
Stand up and show why MMA is right. Stand up for MMA. That should be a good hashtag.
Absolutely.
Hashtag stand up for MMA.
That's what it should be. More people should take a sense of pride in mixed martial arts and where it's coming from. But Sean, we got so much more on tap for this show. Besides what's going on in New York right now and what's going on for MMA, is that the Ducross brothers, the Sports Warriors, Sean and Tristan Ducross, right here on YouTube.com, as well as Blog Talk Radio. Your boys will be right back with UFC Fight Night 85 Fallout. Where does Frank Mir go from here? Hear what we have to say about this situation. More with the Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors coming up next.
Excelsior, Paris Rex, live long and prosper, up, up, and away. Now that's my personal favorite. Fanboy Nation is go. Welcome to Fanboy Nation magazine, the home of all things fanboy and fangirl. Not just the same stuff you can get anywhere else. Only at Fanboy Nation will we go beyond the generic questions of, so what's your favorite pencil? What kind of strings do you use? And how did it feel when you put on X costume? We give you insight into the lives of the artists, producers, the movers, the shakers, the indies, up-and-comers, the bigwigs, and most importantly, the little guys. If you haven't gotten yourself over to fanboynation.com, you need to do it today. You are listening right now to the Ducross Brothers here on Blog Talk Radio. To check out more of the Ducross Brothers, head over to thehotspotshow.com.
All right, everybody, we are back. We are the Ducross Brothers. I'm Tristan Ducross. This is my brother, Sean Ducross, as you can see right here. Ducross Brothers, right here, believe it. We are in the building on YouTube, as well as on Blog Talk Radio. You can follow us on Twitter at the Ducross Bros. You can follow us at our website, www.thehotspot.show.com. You can also hit us up on Facebook, Ducross Brothers, or individually, Sean and Tristan Ducross. In the meantime, we had UFC Fight Night 85 that went down. That was headlined by Mark Hunt, Frank Mir. You and I both said somebody was going to get knocked out in the first round. Unfortunately, at this point, we got to see a little bit longer than the first round. But in the process of doing that, we were left with more questions in the heavyweight division than there are ever answers in the heavyweight division. Because unfortunately, it seems like every single time somebody takes the first step forward, and you're like, oh, yes, finally, somebody's moving up the rankings and doing it right. All of a sudden, we have to hit that pause button real quick and reset the whole heavyweight division. You said, come Mark Hunt and Frank Mir fight, we wanted to see what type of condition Frank Mir was in. And it was funny. The minute you saw Frank Mir, Sean, you're like, oh, great. Dude looks fluffy. He's going to lose. That's what you said. Those were your exact words. You looked at your wife, you looked at me, you looked at her dad, and you looked at us both. He's fluffy. He's going to lose. Sure enough, it was no different.
When you've watched Frank Mir, as much as I have watched Frank Mir over a decade.
But isn't that just weird that you pay attention to his body type? Like, dude looks good. He looks lean. Wait, he looks fluffy.
Because
when he looks fluffy, he loses.
Because that's the thing, is that when you're so analytical.
That's like Fallon saying, well, I like this football team because they wear purple.
But Tristan, the bottom line is that when you're analytical and you're sitting here and you're trying to break down tape and you're trying to understand what makes a fighter tick, you look at everything.
That's the thing that we do, though. You said it. We actually study so many fights. Kind of like when we were back in the day when we were playing sports, is that we studied film. Like, nobody can out-prep us. Film-wise, nobody can out-film us. We will literally be in the last ones in. We'll be the last ones out. We will be from the minute we get home till late at night and stuff like that, prepping, studying, whatever we need to do to get ready for this moment. And that's what you did with Frank Mir.
Yeah, and when you've watched Frank Mir for about a decade and coming and going and seeing everything that he's done, you in MMA, you see body types. You see people change. And Frank Mir, he looked fluffy. His stomach wasn't as ripped. In the last two fights, he hasn't been the same.
Dude, the fact that he came in at 260, and usually when he's at his best,
he's about 255.
Right, give or take.
Because he's slimmed down, he shows a little abage, and it's...
Abage?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Did you just really say abage?
Yes, I made that up.
Like, not really abs, but ab-ish?
Yes, because he's still a heavyweight. He doesn't really have a lot of abs, so it's ab-ish. So when you look at that, and you watch his last two fights, he's been the fluffier Frank Mir. Frank Mir, when Frank Mir's on, and when Frank Mir is, for the lack of a better word, Frank Mir, he is something that is more of the aggressor of the two. He comes out and he looks leaner. He's got almost some abs. You could see that. But then when you look across the bow and you see the last two fights and he's got this jelly roll coming over his belt.
Why don't you just call it a muffin top?
And it's a little shaky in the gut. And he does a little wiggle.
He had to feel little Twinkies.
And when you've got that guy, it's not the same.
Not really.
He didn't take the training to the top. And he posted on his Facebook, said, I'm already receiving hate mail. Yes, I'm hating on him a little bit because of the fact of the way that he looked. But at the bottom line, though, I'm not also trying to directly hate on him. I'm just trying to point out that he has two sides of the spectrum. He either comes in really looking really good or really bad. But the bottom line is Frank Mir has done everything imaginable in mixed martial arts. He came back from a horrific car accident, motorcycle accident.
He was the Brock Lesnar before the Brock Lesnar.
So
you got to give him credit for that. But the issue that I have with this is that, dude, even through the promo, even through the montage that he had coming into the fight, what were the key words he said? I've improved my stand-up. I have so many ways at beating Mark Hunt. Whether it's standing up or taking him to the ground or beating his will and taking his soul and breaking bones. But yet, let's fast forward towards the end of the first round when he attempted a takedown. That was perhaps one of the sloppiest attempts at a takedown that I have ever seen from Frank Mir. It was like he wasn't really sure that he wanted to engage in a takedown, but yet he still kind of flailed at it and tried to grab a leg like a fat kid was trying to grab a piece of chocolate cake from his mom. I don't understand why Frank Mir went from being trying to stand and bang with a guy like Mark Hunt, to all of a sudden switching a gear and trying to go for a takedown that wasn't even there. Like, watching this fight was almost like Mark Hunt had a game plan. I was going to throw bombs. You were going to stand there and take them, or you were going to go out cold. It was simple as that. Frank Mir went in there going, damn, how many more Twinkies can I get after this fight? Being a guy that knew that this was the end all for him, ultimately, after now being faced with 2 consecutive losses, now being in the stage of his career in that heavyweight division, ultimately, he comes in at 2-1 from 2015 to now losing 2 consecutive fights in 2016. The issue that I now have with Frank Mir is that I don't see a last title run that he has been clamoring at. I see Mark Hunt, this humble guy that stood there at the end with the mic and said, thank you, I appreciate your time. Nobody gives his credit to Mark Hunt because Mark Hunt was the guy that for years was the guy that was up and down like a teeter-totter. Which kid was going to be on the other end that would teeter the guy just up a little bit more to kind of say that, dude, I'm that guy, I won this round. Mark Hunt is that guy that is sitting on the ground while the other kid's up high, and he's waiting for somebody to just kind of pull him back down so he can get a title shot. With the walk-off KO, and yes, once again, he does the walk-off KO. He even said to Frank Mir, he was like, yo, dog, I ain't even going to hit you again. I don't even need to. I hit you. I looked at you. You wasn't even there. And walked off. Like, if you have that kind of mindset that you hit some fool so hard that he goes limp and dazed, and you look at him and go, what was your thought when you saw Frank Mir hit the ground? Why did you just walk away like that? And your words were, he wasn't there? Good stoppage. You know, I've seen the memes too, dude. Frank Mir was straight up like this. I'm like, the ref is like cradling him with his head on his leg like a little newborn baby. I'm going like, dude, he is straight up knocked out.
Or the fact that Mark Hunt meme is going like this. Come on, enter into my office.
Right.
Mark Hunt is a unique guy. Mark Hunt comes and goes. Kind of reminds me a lot about Tank Abbott. That one punch at any point in time can change the landscape just like that.
But the fact that he knows how to throw it at any point in time, I mean, this wasn't like a clean hit to the jaw. This wasn't a clean hit to the side of the ear. This was a hard punch that was behind the ear that just went, I'm done.
Yeah, went done away. You've seen a lot of varieties of knockouts and stuff like that, and that was one of the rarities. When you knock out a guy, his eyes just go blank, and he just looks up into the sky like, wow, I see stars. Or like, I see the little birdies going around my head. That's kind of what it looked like with Frank Mir. But a lot of people are saying, well, what's next for Mark Hunt? They're mentioning Josh Barnett as a potential opportunity for him. They're both in the top 10. Josh Barnett is coming off a loss to Ben Rothwell. Mark Hunt is coming off a win from Frank Mir. They're both in the top 10, so it's an interesting fight. But you wonder what's next. Where can he go? He's not going to get a title shot.
Not right now. He needs to put at least another win or two together. But I think he will get a title shot here soon, Sean. I think it's very possible in the near future we're going to see Mark Hunt in that title picture just for the sheer fact of what he's there to do. He's a showman. Get a humble showman at that.
He's the Super Samoan.
Sean, and here's a guy that also said that he felt bad for beating Frank Mir. He's the one that said Well, unfortunately, on this night, somebody had to lose. And I'm sorry to say that Frank Mir had to lose. And I'm sad to see such a legend and icon of the sport lose. I respect that humble side of him.
Absolutely. But that's the thing that everybody loves about Mark Hunt. Is that Mark Hunt comes to fight. He comes to show every single time.
Too bad that a referee didn't come to show.
But we'll get to that one in a minute. You want to see from Mark Hunt in an opportunity for a title shot. Can he beat Steel Miocic? Can he beat him? What about JDS, Junior Dos Santos? Can he beat him?
I think there's a very strong case and a possibility that he could beat a JDS and put in against a Steel Miocic. I think at this point of his career, at the stage of both of them, I think that when you look at Miocic and you look at Mark Hunt, I think stylistically it would be an amazing fight. I think because here you have a guy that has that walk-off knockout power. Here's a guy that could kick your head off and take you to the brink of punishment as well as getting deep into your tank. Miocic hasn't faced a guy like Mark Hunt with anybody that has that kind of ferocity behind his punching power. Nobody has it. So I think that when you're looking at these two guys that are trying to go for a title, what makes this interesting for these top 10 title contenders is that now you get something that almost a food for thought. Miocic deserves a title shot. But at the same time, Mark Hunt is driving that bus and he's getting awfully close to just running somebody over.
So then what about putting him up against the Travis Hopper Brown, who just came off a defeat of Matt Mitrione?
I think that would be a great matchup because Hopper Brown is destined to get back into that spotlight, destined to get back into the throne of being in a title contention talk. So why not split the two, have them go one-on-one, and see who gets into even the top 5 here soon? Because that's where the heavyweight division is, Sean. It's kind of weak when you're breaking down the top. You have really nobody.
When I was looking at who the heavyweight contenders are that could be for Mark Hunt, that could jump him into a title contention fight, there isn't that many people. Because the next guy that came in the line was Ben Rothwell, who happened to defeat Josh Barnett. Why not him? Because you're looking at...
I think that would be a great matchup. Two behemoths in the center of the cage. Two guys with punching power that at any point can knock each other out. Somebody that... Ben Rothwell ain't going to take you to the ground. He's about a show. He's about proving the doubters wrong. I would love to have those two. Yes. Ben Rothwell, Mark Hunt, make it happen.
And
UFC 200, how about that?
That ain't going to happen. That's too close. But you look at that, and that's an interesting comparison. That's an interesting fight. Because you look at everybody that's lining up in the heavyweight division. You can't do Andrei Arlovski because Andrei Arlovski, May 8th, is fighting against Alistair Overeem. So a lot of them are already paired off. A lot of them are waiting.
And it leaves Mark Hunt trying to, who do I got? Who am I facing? And at this point, you're just going to have to kind of sit back, let this field kind of play out real quick, and then we could go back and talk about who Mark Hunt could face. Because let this field thin out real quick. Because once somebody of those guys wins, the losers will fall off. Mark Hunt will slide up, and he could get one of those winners that ultimately will shoot him right into that title talk contention, and about possibly finally, at his late age of his career, getting his title shot and seeing if he can do a walk-off KO with the title.
I just don't see Mark Hunt getting an opportunity at a title, though. But I guess we'll not see Hector Lombard getting an opportunity at a title anytime soon after he was defeated by Neil Magny.
Hector Lombard, The only thing scary about the dude is that he's about 2 feet tall, jacked up like a fruit monkey, and no gas in his tank whatsoever. He's like fuming on empty, and all he has is fumes. This is like a little Volvo going up a hill, and you're just trying to push the pedal all the way down to the ground. It's going all the way up the hill. When he jumped on Neil Magny, and he was beating on Neil Magny, you're just like, dude, please, just keep hitting me. Hit me, give me some more. Because you're going to be tired in about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bell, thank you. Round 2, game over.
And that's exactly what it was. He weathered the storm, and he brought the fight to Hector Lombard.
Hector's cardio, though, has always been an issue because of the muscle that he carries. The oxygen that it takes to carry that much muscle is never good in mixed martial arts. Does anybody not understand that about how much oxygen it has to feed those muscles?
Yeah, and then
he has muscles on top of muscles. His cheekbones have muscles inside of muscles.
Okay, Eli Marrero, or what his name? What was it? What was the catcher's name? Eli Marrero, I think is what it was.
Yes, but
back in the Rocky days, the guy had muscles upon muscles, had literally muscles in his cheeks. I didn't even know that was possible for an MMA. For a baseball player. But to see that in MMA, Hector Lombard was built like that. But you haven't seen anybody able to take that much punishment from Hector Lombard and come right back at you and still survive that much punishment. And he survived that punishment. He tucked, he rolled, he dodged, he absorbed punishment. But I guess that's what happens when you've got a military guy who's been beat up, ran through the ringer in all of his training, that he has lungs for days, he's got heart for days, and that was Neil Magny. He had the heart of a champion, the heart of a lion, and to sit there and take a beating for the first 5 minutes of the fight.
No. The guy that took the beating, and it should have stopped, was the fact that Hector Lombard flattened.
Yeah.
On his stomach, face down, took 40 plus unanswered punches, and I kid you not, Neil Magny knocked this fool out, then brought him back by punching him so much, then knocked him out again, then brought him back to life for punching him so much, and then the round ended. Like, I would have said, hey, dude's limp. Stop punching him. Don't wake him up. I did punch him again, sleep. Punch him again, wake up. Punch him again, go to sleep. That's basically what he was doing, because I swear he was limp at points of the fight. When he was on his belly, face down. Watch the video, dude. 40 plus unanswered punches, unanswered, and this guy was just out cold at one point. And the ref was on the left side, so he couldn't see that, what we could see from the video, that Hector Lombard was done. He was out.
Yeah, and when you look back, and I posted on my Facebook,
Sean Ducross,
to a couple of our buddies about what they thought about the fight. One of our buddies posted and said, you know what? I don't want to touch on the thought process of what the referee was going through because I don't want to bash him. Well, my question wasn't about that. My question was simply about what would you have done in that spot? I don't care about what that ref did. The ref was in his position. He must have saw something we didn't see on our end.
He made that judgment call. Because that's what it is. It's a judgment call.
And whether we like it or not, they're there. They've got to hear something we don't hear. They've got to see something we don't necessarily see. Maybe he felt obligated to give him the benefit of the doubt because he gave Neil Magny the benefit of the doubt when other referees would have probably stopped that fight in the first round. So maybe he felt obligated to give Hector Lombard the same respect that he gave to Neil Magny. Maybe that was it. But you can't speculate. And that's what I was trying to say. Is I'm not here to speculate. I just want an outside perspective about what would you have maybe done in that spot.
Yeah, what was your thought process? But in the meantime, that with Hector Lombard losing, with Neil Magny going forward, Neil Magny now improves to an astonishing 11-1 in the UFC.
He's got it all. He's a freaky athlete. He's got the length for the strikes. He's got the ability to take the fight to the mat. He's in the welterweight division, and it's stacked. But here's who should probably fight next. What about Tyrone Woodley? Tyrone Woodley has been so outspoken about wanting Robbie Lawler for the last 2 years, but hasn't fought in the last 2 years. So if he doesn't get his fight against Robbie Lawler, so you've got Rory MacDonald, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson for the number 1 contender spot. That person ends up fighting Robbie Lawler. So you're going to end up needing to crown your next number 1 contender.
So why not have Tyrone Woodley versus Neil Magny?
Yeah. So don't put him against Robbie Lawler.
Man, dude. We don't even know if Rory MacDonald is going to come out of the Wonderboy Thompson fight either as the number 1 contender or as a UFC fighter. We don't know at this point.
Correct.
Because all we know is that he was supposed to fight in Australia against Hector Lombard, said no. UFC told him no because he wasn't sparring, but that's a joke and a half. But you put Neil in this spot, and Neil Magny showed up. Tyrone Woodley is the only option at this point.
Against who?
Neil Magny. That's the only option. There is no other option that's left for Neil Magny. None.
There is.
Who else?
Johnny Hendricks. Johnny Hendricks wants to get back
How
to his
about you
throne
string some wins together?
Exactly. Is that you put him against Neil Magny and
Right.
make it a title eliminator. Why not put those two together? Say, hey, Johnny Hendricks, you win, you're in. You lose, you're out.
Here's a fight. Neil Magny, not the most technically sound, gifted fighter, but he's savvy enough to string together his attacks and his punishment and knows when to get the opponent to the ground. But how about the natural born killer in Carlos Condit?
There you go.
We don't know if he's retiring. We don't know if he has another run in him, but
He likes to stand and bang.
right, let's make this entertaining.
I would buy that one. I would get that one. That's another great opportunity for Neil Magny. Because I think in order for him to get his shot at Robbie Lawler, he needs to run through at least one, if not two more, top contenders with name value. Hector Lombard was one of them. Even though he's been on steroid allegations, been suspended for steroids, he was still a name that was at the top of the contender for the title.
And now give him one more name added to his credentials. Or two. Automatically, you're saying top contender. Yes, let's give him a title shot.
Exactly. It'd be good for Neil Magny. Neil Magny's on the right track. he's finally trending up.
Dude, Jake Matthews is trending up.
Jake Matthews is
He's the better Sage Northcutt. Let's just say that.
That's what I was gonna say. But
Sage Northcutt can do all the Toyota commercials right now on Snapchat with Tisha Torres. That's what he's doing. Paige Van Zant can go and do Dancing with the Stars, which we'll get to later. At least Jake Matthews, at 21 years old, top prospect, is actually, I don't know, taking the fight game serious? What? No.
why not have
Hollywood Johnny Case is taking mixed martial arts a little bit more serious than Hollywood pretty boy Power Ranger wannabe Sage Northcutt.
Sage Northcutt should probably fight Jake Matthews next. That's what I would like to see. Watch the two levels be completely polar opposites. You only can get by so long doing karate base and being a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and not you know how to use your ground game.
All you have to do is put your arm around him, fake like you're choking, he'll tap out.
That boggles my mind. But you look
Give
at that-
Sage Northcutt a hug and he'll probably be like, I'm tapping. But dude, I just want to give you a hug. I'm tapping. I'm out.
I'm good. I'm good. I can't breathe. Hold up.
You're squeezing too hard. Boy, I'm barely even touching you.
I'm on the wrong side of the choke, by the way. But you didn't know that, apparently. I'm just tapping because I freaked out.
Oh my God, choke.
But why not put those two against each other?
Absolutely.
You want to build up Sage Northcutt. What are you going to get? Are you going to... Is Sage Northcutt your Michael Venom Page?
Let's protect him.
Yeah? Is that what you're going to do now? Protect him?
Jake Matthews and the Johnny Hollywood case was a fight that was a tale of two stories that were coming in this. You had the top prospect in Jake Matthews. You had the Hollywood limelight in Johnny Case. You had two guys that were in the pinnacle of their stage of their young career about whether they were going to go up or down. One of them was going to lose, but it was ultimately two guys that you had to put together in the cage to ultimately figure out which one was going to be your Lord and Savior. Because Paige Van Zant got destroyed. Conor McGregor got destroyed. Your Dana White's whole entire family got destroyed. They were all separated at birth. They came together as to form one family. Now they've all been separated and put in foster homes. Hollywood Case, Jake Matthews were the last left two stars that could possibly reunite the household. Jake Matthews beats Johnny Case, and at one point the ultimate punishment that led to the tide turning in this fight was the kick to the stomach just below the rib.
He got that kick right in the solar plexus. I mean, you go, hold up.
You know when he took that kick just below the rib, that it was done. Like, the tide turned, the momentum shifted. Johnny was no longer the guy that was pushing the fight forward. He was more of the guy that was on the other side receiving the punishment. I mean, he would get some body shots to the side of the stomach, and you could see that the issues the kick caused, you could see now that it was starting to kind of take effects on him.
Absolutely. And when you see his ribs starting to turn red, it was the end of the era for Johnny Case. And it's only going to go forward for Jake Matthews. The sky's the limit for him. I actually believe he has the ability to continue to grow more so than what Sage Northcutt can.
The fact that he got a rear naked choke on Johnny Hollywood Case said it all. Because he worked really hard on that to get that choke in. And to be able to latch it on and claim the victory, all the power to him. He moves to 4-1 in the UFC. There's nothing more you can say about Jake Matthews except feed him more. That's all you can do at this point.
Feed me more. Yeah, really?
Ryback. Sorry, WWE. But another guy that actually took this seriously and changed what the perspective was of him was a fighter that was a former enforcer in hockey, former bad boy, showed up in the cage, better shape, mind on straight.
Who did he look like? David Lemieux.
Dude, what is with the Canadian boys getting the head shaved and the long mop hair on the sides, on the top? David Lemieux had that haircut.
You gotta look good, you know?
Did you know that David Lemieux is also going to be on the undercard of the big, huge fight that's going to be coming up?
Yep, and that's a whole different thing.
Dude, we're going to touch on that towards the end of the show. Canelo Khan, and you're going to have David Lemieux on that card? What?
But Steve Bosse came in looking good. Like I told you and like I told my wife Fallon, was that when you've got Steve Bosse coming in looking good, he's a phenom in the city of Montreal or in Canada. He was the MMA fighter that set everything on fire in Montreal. Everybody in Montreal knows who that guy is.
Oh, no kidding.
So to see him get knocked out in his first UFC fight is like that wasn't him. This was Steve Bosse. This was the true guy with the true knockout power that is going to bring the house down. He's not 11-1 for nothing.
Dude, can you think about that division with Bosse in the division now?
If he runs off more wins and he starts coming up through the food chain, just watch out. Because there's a reason why he was knocking people out and making a name for himself in Canada. He's coming to the States. He put that punch right on that chin and made it go.
Even while he was falling back, he caught him. That shows you how much power is behind that punch when he's falling back. And he was the underdog coming into this fight against
He hit
Una.
the guy so hard that he folded up like an accordion. He hit the mat, then went forward. And fell. It was like, I hadn't seen that many knockouts like that. But when you get hit and you go, it's like, what's going on here? Like, did that just happen? But you got to be on the lookout for Steve Bosse coming into the UFC and making a name for himself.
Like he said, he didn't really take it seriously when he came into his first fight. Now you're going to see something different. All the power to Steve Bosse. I hope this guy continues to develop and come along nicely because you ain't seen nothing yet. This guy's exciting, let me tell you. But Sean, we are the New Cross Brothers Sports Warriors right here on YouTube.com. We are also on Blog Talk Radio. We do this every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm Tristan Ducross. This is Sean Ducross. We got coming up your fight. That's always funny to say. Yes, your fight. History made at 47 years old. Really? Oh, yeah. It happened over the weekend. More with the Sports Warriors coming up next.
Excelsior in Paris Rex. Live long and prosper. Up, up, and away. Now that's my personal favorite. Fanboy Nation is go. Welcome to Fanboy Nation magazine, the home of all things fanboy and fangirl. Not just the same stuff you can get anywhere else. Only at Fanboy Nation will we go beyond the generic questions of, so what's your favorite pencil? What kind of strings do you use? And how did it feel when you put on X costume? We give you insight into the lives of the artists, producers, the movers, the shakers, the indies, up-and-comers, the bigwigs, and most importantly, the little guys. If you haven't gotten yourself over to fanboynation.com, you need to do it today. You are listening right now to the Ducross Brothers here on Blog Talk Radio. To check out more of the Ducross Brothers, head over to thehotspotshow.com.
What's up, everybody? We are back. We are the New Cross Brothers, the Sports Warriors, as you can see right here. We are the New Cross Brothers. I'm Tristan Ducross. Along my side, as always, is my brother.
Sean Ducross. Tristan, so this past weekend we also had your fight. Your fight that featured mixed martial arts, jiu-jitsu, grappling, wrestling, boxing, everything. All rolled up into one fight card. The thing that boggled everybody's mind was the Roy Jones Jr. versus a fan. That turned into Roy Jones Jr.
Versus an MMA fighter. So wait. So we finally got to see the first ever boxer versus MMA fighter. And guess who won? A boxer. Guess at what age? 47. Did I miss something somewhere? Like, I'm trying to understand this. That Roy Jones Jr. at 47 could barely beat a paper bag, let alone a fighter. Shows up in a boxing ring to take on to a fan takes on an MMA fighter in Vernon Phillips and knocks him out with a right hand while he's falling away.
While he's falling back. It was one of those things that's like, and Roy Jones Jr. was not in that good of a shape. Let's be real on that one. He was out of shape.
Right. Didn't even take that fight seriously. He knocked the dude out in the second round.
Roy Jones Jr. didn't even look like he was going all out in that fight.
Dude, Vernon Phillips, 7-2 as an MMA fighter, as a pro MMA fighter.
No pushover, but apparently he's no boxer.
Like, come on now. Like, if you're a pro MMA, what were you feeding this guy in the MMA ranks? Like, was he facing a bunch of slobs and nobodies to improve, to pad his record? 7-2?
Tristan, but that's the thing, is that you weren't feeding him anything potentially. It's two different sports, boxing and MMA.
No, I'm just saying, like,
it doesn't matter what he was doing because it's a completely different mentality, different type of makeup to stand in front of you and box. Because in mixed martial arts, you don't necessarily train in boxing. You stand there, you train a little bit in boxing, you train on the ground, you mix it up. Big difference. Roy Jones Jr. was a legit boxer. Roy Jones Jr., and I say was because the guy should retire. Let's just be real on that one.
47 years old. Yeah, he should retire.
But you look at this and you see Roy Jones Jr., it looked as if he was lackluster, that he's like, really? This guy's fighting me? Like, come on, seriously? That's the type of mentality that he looked like he had in that fight. And then when he came in, he just leaned back and went, boom. What? Down he goes.
Second round.
On in the next.
The one match that left me, like, if anybody's going to pay $6 for this, you saw Chael Sonnen versus Michael Bisping in a grappling match. In a roll around or in a, what was the saying that they called that the Conor McGregor thing, the touch butt? Because that's what kind of this was. Like, they're playing touchy, basically.
Because that's all you can do in grappling.
Yeah, I get that. But this fight ended in a draw. Like, in a grappling match, dude, give this another 5 minutes. You can't end this in a draw.
Because that's the thing with grappling, is that it's such one of those things like, hold up, I grab you, I pull you. It's like watching a jiu-jitsu fight, but except for in jiu-jitsu, you get credit for points. Grappling, you get credits for points, but it's a lot of just maneuvering and placing. And in this fight, it looked like it was just about having fun. Like Michael Bisping fake throwing an elbow to the head. He did a little bit of a push kick when he probably wasn't supposed to. But I think it was more just an entertainment style grappling fight. Let's just put these two together, see how it was going. For what it was okay. The one that stood out too, that was like, what the? Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio. Kurt Angle doesn't look like he can still go. He's been around the block for a while. Rey Mysterio still looks like he can get it done, but Riff Raff showed up and handed a steel chair to Rey Mysterio.
Was it just me or did it look like Riff Raff like popped a couple steroids before he came on?
Because Riff Raff worked out with Hulk Hogan at one point. He went on Hulk Hogan's regimen.
Hold up. I need to go into the locker room and get an injection. Hold up. That's what Riff Raff looked like he did.
But that's what happens when you train with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
It's like when you see Carrot Top and he goes from a skinny little too big to Mr.
Carrot
Roided
Top.
Out guy.
Carrot Top.
Just saying.
You know he's on juice. You know he's on juice.
But Riff Raff handed a steel chair to Rey Mysterio.
And he won.
And he won because he hit the 619. And then a dive off the top rope.
Yes, he always does a splash.
Yeah, but it's like, really? The splash is just basically a swanton splash.
Yes.
Belly flop! Probably wakes up with his stomach a little red.
Very true. But you also had the MMA fight that was on there that was like, what? And it ended with I think Maverick Harvey's the one that won. I think that's what his name is or something like that. But he won in his fight. Well, I'm not even sure what to even think about your show.
Your show was actually put on quite nicely. It was in a wrestling ring. You had Jim Ross
calling the fight.
You also had Jen Steger, who was doing behind the work. So your fight did a good job for what it was. I mean, it's interesting. Your fight, your show. That's basically what it was. You're the one that helped put on this fight card. You're the one that put this on for the fans for $5.99.
Yes.
If
I'm
you
interested
want
to see
future events from them.
Right. I'm interested to see if this is going to be something on a go-forward basis.
Absolutely. It's going to be one of those things that you got to watch for the future to find out if they're going to put on any more events, what's next to come for them. But it was an interesting concept.
I guess if people are looking for an adrenaline rush show, then this is it. But I mean, your show has basketball on it. They have music. So it's interesting to see that they're going to start putting more events on, that we might start seeing this, your show, coming out a little bit more.
If it does, it's going to be something that will probably catch on a little bit because it's unique. And unique things tend to happen, and unique things tend to last a little bit longer.
Something that's really not unique, though, is Dancing with the Stars, it seems.
But Dancing with the Stars is something that has been around for 20 seasons now. 22.
Yes, but I'm just so tired of seeing all these either has-beens, washed-ups, never was, maybes, so-called stars on Dancing with the Stars.
But that's the whole point.
Paige Van Zant loses, gets banded to a foster home, and ends up on Dancing with the Stars. That's like a complete from left to right to, oh man, I need to find a new home. Let's go dance.
I guess she's going to try to make a U-turn.
Come back around.
Come back around and go right back to the UFC. But Paige
Mommy,
Van Zant,
Daddy, please take me back.
Paige Van Zant did not do that bad. She came in and I believe
Your
she
wife
scored
didn't seem too happy about it.
because it's Paige Van Zant.
Is
But-
she jealous?
No.
Because it's Paige?
She just finds it annoying that she goes from doing mixed martial arts.
Oh, so
to
like
Dancing
Power
with the
Rangers
Stars.
Sage Northcutt.
Yes. Like, if you're an MMA fighter,
Fight MMA.
that's what you should do.
Focus on that.
And
I
for
get that.
Paige Van Zant to lose to Rose Namajunas,
But look, let's be honest, Sean. She got kicked out of her home, okay? She's a foster kid now. She has no home right now. She needed to make money. Her face is everything. She was a bloody mess at her last fight.
yeah,
Unrecognizable. So, here comes another platform that is willing to accept her in open arms. Say, sweetie, please come in. We will give you the home for the time being. You can clean, or you can heal up all your wounds and your broken heart, and you can dance because you were once a dancer.
and she did pretty well for what it was. She's a little stiff, but it'll be interesting to see how well she continues to progress in Dancing with the Stars. And you know that her fans are going to go up and show up and vote for her. But Dancing with the Stars is a unique platform for a lot of individuals and a lot of people coming in for athlete-wise, like Antonio Brown's on it. Man,
How did he do?
Antonio Brown has swagger for days, but he doesn't like to talk. He does not like to talk at all, but yeah, he's got personality
Apparently your
for days.
wife really agrees with that.
Yes. She was laughing hysterically like, woo, I'm a fan of Antonio Brown. Like, yeah.
I guess I'm going to have to watch it.
Von Miller was on it. Von Miller had swag for days too, but
Did
not
he
as
have his
much.
glasses?
Yes.
Okay.
And he was wearing his blue and orange getup for the Broncos. It was good. Those two athletes did good for what it was.
How did Jodie Sweetin do?
She was one of the better dancers on the show. The show got better as it progressed. Doug Flutie, poor Doug Flutie. Doug Flutie. Poor Doug Flutie. Got bad on himself during the training and was so like, oh, I should get this. Oh, I should know that. And you would think that with that mentality, translated to the floor. No, it didn't. like somewhere the competitive juices got lost and he didn't take what he was training and getting upset about and put it into the dance floor. It was like watching Gary Busey all over again. I mean, if you watch
Doug Flutie compared to... He didn't have his Flutie Flakes with him?
he probably could have used Flutie Flakes. Because it probably would have given him extra mojo. Because the show didn't. But Wayna Morris from Boyz II Men is on it. And he's a little bit of a heavier fella now.
He's always been a heavier dude.
But he wanted to be on
Boyz II Men, Motown Philly.
Right? He came out and danced to Motown Philly.
Yes!
And it was epic. It was like when Alfonso Ribeiro came out and he danced to the intro of Fresh Prince.
Oh.
Yes, and he did that.
Oh, okay.
But it was like that. That's what's interesting to me with Dancing with the Stars is seeing people that we grew up with doing something like this that's way out of comfort zone. So that was fun. But that's kind of what stood out to me a little bit in the first episode of Dancing with the Stars.
But what stood out to me, too, also over the weekend, was the fact that announcement that was made about David Lemieux being put on the Canelo and Khan card. Because we've always said it for years that in order for boxing to go to the next platform, to go above and beyond, was by the sheer fact that you need to put somebody on the undercard that drew just as much. And the fact that you have David Lemieux on the undercard of Canelo and Khan now tells me that Golden Boy is getting it.
Yes, Golden Boy is at the pinnacle of boxing. Understands what it is to put the fight, give the fight fans what they want and put on a fight show. And putting David Lemieux on that fight card only adds to extra star power, even though that Amir Khan and David Lemieux did not draw necessarily as well as they would hope. Maybe that's why they kind of put David Lemieux on the card, was because now people know who David Lemieux is.
Very true.
And will kind of bolster that pay-per-view card up a little bit more for those two fighters in Canelo and Amir Khan to try to give some cushion. But it'll be interesting. You transition over to the sad story of the weekend, which was that it came out at Bellator 149 that in fact Kimbo Slice and Ken Shamrock both in fact tested positive for steroids. We said that a couple weeks ago. You don't go from looking ripped one day to looking like an older gentleman fight at Bellator 151.
Okay, please nobody take this wrong. Please, I'm begging everybody. Okay? Kimbo Slice, dude, he says he did not know that he took steroids or a tainted supplement. Hold on. And my immediate reaction was what? Because you ate fried chicken? Like you ate fried chicken and what? They slipped you something in the fried chicken? Like I just don't get it. Like, how do you not know if you took steroids? You took steroids. It didn't help your cardio out anything.
I believe he knew he took steroids.
Dude, steroids is supposed to give you a competitive advantage. Dude, a 60-year-old grandma could have ran circles around Kimbo Slice and still kept going.
And apparently steroids didn't help with the fact that Ken Shamrock couldn't avoid a cup check in the following fight.
It didn't build him a titanium nutsack. It dropped him. Game over.
Well, apparently taking steroids is supposed to shrink you. So I guess
there was nothing there and it still hurt him? That's why he had the...
there you go. Got hit. There you go. He could get hit from any angle and he was going to go down because he was sensitive. That's the only thing I can think of, because that was not... It was a clean nut shot.
It was buried.
It was a clean nut shot.
Buried.
But at the bottom of the line, though, it was not that hard.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out. Usually you take steroids either to recruit recovery, get an advantage, and neither one of the guys had an advantage.
Correct, because he couldn't even he didn't even have the strength to choke out Kimbo Slice in his fight.
Dude, one dude almost died in the cage, in the circle. The other guy that was grasping for air and oxygen at the end. And steroids did not save either one of them. And then Kid Shamrock, dude, my brother, still with the steroids at 60 years old.
He wants to go past his prime. And we're probably not done seeing Ken Shamrock.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We are not done seeing Ken. But when you look that freakish at 60 years old, you knew something was up. Call it what it is. Shocking, not shocking. We are the New Cross Brothers, the Sports Warriors, on YouTube.com as well as Blog Talk Radio. Look us up on Twitter at the New Cross Bros. Facebook us at New Cross Brothers. Add us individually, Sean and Tristan New Cross. We'll talk combat sports all day, every day. We do this every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Until next time, we out.
Just make sure that when you look us on YouTube, type in the Sports Warriors or the Hotspot Show, and that's how you can find our YouTube channel. Subscribe to us. We'll put up videos from everything we cover to our shows after everything. So stay tuned.